Salute Knicks Nation. Let's talk about this one. Is the New York Knicks don't turn up tonight and they drop a pathetic performance against the Boston Celtics, get blown out at MSG in this one, 104-131. Basically a carbon copy of opening night in Boston, and Boston Celtics absolutely ripped the Knicks apart and their schemes. Short-handed, we know, without OG Anunoby. Hart and Cat was questionable heading in, and they did not look like a shell of themselves tonight in this ball game. Embarrassing. It was a timid performance early. The New York Knicks showed fight in the third quarter to pull within 3. And Tom Thibodeau, it was a make or break moment, refused to challenge a dubious foul call on Deuce McBride to give Boston 3 free throws, and that kind of was the ball game after that. Boston Celtics went on a 19-3 run, and the Knicks did not recover from that. They just looked shell-shocked. And obviously defensively, we're going to talk about it, Boston just ripped us apart. No Drew Holiday, no Porzingis as well. Is it back to the drawing board, guys? Let me know your thoughts on this one. Very angry, very frustrated. You want to see some adjustments after the first loss to Boston, and tonight was arguably worse than opening night, right? It was a slow start. The offense looked completely ugly. Thibs made numerous questionable decisions as well, played Huck Porty for 3 minutes in the first half, got 1 foul, and I didn't bring him back in again. Meanwhile, Precious was getting killed. Cat was getting killed in the pick and roll as well. And they weren't coming up to guard the Jason Tatum 3, and he let him pay. 40 points tonight from Jason Tatum, right? Rebounds as well. The New York Knicks got killed on the glass. Cat was pathetic tonight. Obviously, he was questionable, so didn't even look like he could go. It just was not a serious effort tonight. Precious Achiuwa -37. Josh Hart -31. Arguably Hart's worst performance on the season as well. Really tough time to drop a performance like that. No answer defensively. They put Bridges in a lot of screens, heavy pick and roll. Luke Cornett rolling to the cup. We didn't adjust and bring the rotation on those ones. Bench scoring was another issue. Miles McBride, 1 of 8. Cameron Payne did play well tonight off the bench, though, in his small little cameo. DeLon Wright got some garbage time late. But Ariel Hukporti, I don't know why Thibs went away from him early, didn't give that a long enough look. But also the drop coverage with Karl Anthony Towns was just amateurish. It was the worst you could possibly imagine, letting Tatum do whatever he wants tonight. So 0 adjustments. I wanted to see Thibs bring the double at least for a few possessions, get the ball out of Tatum's hand. He didn't do that. The challenge call I mentioned that he should have challenged on the foul on Deuce, he didn't do that. Allowed a huge run, 19-3 run to go, extended run, and didn't call a timeout as well. We heard "Let's go Celtics" chants at MSG. I mean, this is the type of performance that could get a coach on the hot seat, right? If the Knicks' record was bad. Now, the Knicks' record is good, but right, to be smashed by, the opponent that you're trying to catch, right, twice now. I mean, is it psychological? Is it just the hurdle that the Knicks' current roster construction and schemes can overcome? I'm buying a lot of stock in these performances, guys, because the New York Knicks just, they can't match up as currently constructed with the schemes that Thibs employs, and you obviously got to tip your cap to, all NBA talent in Jason Tatum. When he's hitting shots like that, there's not a lot you can do, but there are some things you got to do, which is get the ball out of his hands, make Derek White, make Luke Cornett. I thought we guarded Jaylen Brown, pretty decent. We all know Jaylen Brown does have some flaws with his handle. You can kind of get stuck into him a bit. But like Alan Hahn says here, the Celtics they're not the first team this season to give the too small to the Knicks defenders. And that's the knock on their lineup when you ask people around the league. Right. Alan Hahn, ladies and gentlemen, does not mix words, right? Those are his honest thoughts, and I got to agree. Josh Hart looked really small tonight. Precious was really bad. Drop coverage as well was cat. Brunson did try to fight over the picks, but when you Tatum, you can just shoot over anybody. And just, yeah, the Knicks put in one of their worst performances on the season once again. But it was Boston that also made them look really bad at times, and it was a carbon copy of opening night. Salute to the chat, salute replay squad, Knicks Nation. This is your vent session in this one, man. We celebrate when we win, we stick together when we lose. We're going to talk about the road ahead and what the Knicks got to do. But right now, this could be a season where the Knicks need to learn more about themselves and retool in the summer, because right now we are so far behind Boston in terms of matching up. I know the standings are one thing, and we're only one game behind them in the standings. But what I'm specifically talking about is when you match up against them and you play them in a 7-game series, we are so far off them right now in terms of, I know if you get OG Anunoby back, you get Mitchell Robinson. That's obviously going to help, right? But to win 4 games out of 7 right now, unless we change our philosophy, I can't see it happening right now. I hope to God that I'm wrong, but you got to beat this team 4 times out of 7, not just once, And yeah, maybe one game you hope that they don't shoot as well. They shoot cold. It might happen. But I kind of feel like the way Boston have been hitting shots on our drop coverage, it's so easy for them. It's so easy, If we played Boston 100 times out of 100 with our scheme and both sides were healthy, I don't think it's far-fetched to say that they would win all 100, right? When you give the shooters that they have wide open looks, they're going to knock them down, Let me shout out the chat. Buzzer Beater, Stanley Man in the building, David M. What's good, guys? Welcome in. Ricardo, great to see you. Tawheed Brown in the building. Ernest is in the building as well. CC. Let's shout out your comments. I've given my mini vent early, but obviously some big news around the NBA. If you haven't heard, the Lakers Hornets trade has now been rescinded by the Lakers because of the medical conditioning of Mark Williams as well. So that's shaken up the NBA, man. The Lakers will just have one healthy center right now, Jackson Hayes. Right, so huge news around the NBA, right? But obviously we're going to focus on our game tonight, the New York Knicks, and matching up against Boston, right? Ed says the Thibs system never went to the finals for a reason. Christian Winfield says, oh no, let's go Celtics chance are reigning at MSG. Like Dolan is not going to be happy about that, right? You don't spend the kind of tax bill and the payroll that the New York Knicks have to get blown out by 30 twice to the Boston Celtics and not even look competitive. Man, it's a complete and utter embarrassment right now. Thibs has got to get an F. Now, yeah, Stanley says the Knicks are soft. We played soft tonight. David says Thibs went back to his old ways, barely playing the bench, horrible coaching job. 100% agree, I think we've capped out at Thibs, He's a great regular season coach. He can get you a good record, but his schemes are so predictable. Obviously our players do have flaws, so it's not all on Thibs. You got to evaluate the roster and be real. Cat as your primary center and drop coverage against this team. I couldn't think of polar opposites in terms of bad matchups, I mean, Karl Anthony Towns is not even an anchor defensively for a good defense. And you're gonna trot that out against the most elite three-point shooting team right now of this modern generation, man. It's a slaughterhouse right now. And Thibs just continues to do that, man. Plays the drop coverage. Ricardo says, I don't understand the rotations. Yeah, you and me both. It was baffling tonight. It's the kind of thing where Sims camp kind of wanted, we hear some news that Sims and his manager did sort of want to get out of New York as well. It was a mutual thing. And it's kind of like he messes with your head, does Thibs, He'll play you for a little bit. He'll take you out. Then he'll give you a chance. Then he'll play you for a few minutes, take you out again. I just don't know what he's doing right now. We're getting carved up on the perimeter. We didn't get to see DeLon Wright. I would have thrown DeLon Wright out there. On the perimeter, we had no answer. We are too small. I love Deuce McBride, and he's a pit bull on the perimeter. But when he's get locked up on those screens, and he can't contest over the 6'8" Jaylen Brown, 6'9" Jason Tatum. Landry Shamet's unplayable as well. So yeah, a lot of this rests on the feet of Leon as well. Davis's Huck was +6 in his first few half minutes. Thibs never went back to him. Yeah, that factors into the confusion. CC says, why didn't they start Huck and Cat? Josh should have come off the bench tonight. Yeah, the minutes with Precious Achiuwa, he was woeful offensively, and I think that contributed to the Knicks' slow start, And credit to the Knicks for clawing it back to 3. Obviously, Boston had to miss a few shots, and Brunson was going Brunson mode in this one. But having said that, Precious just couldn't hit a shot, and we were down 15 early. If we don't get down by 15, then I think the New York Knicks have a better chance. But the starting 5 was just horrible, tonight. As we trailed 48-61 at the half, and you're like, okay, down 13, it could have been worse, really. Ernest says, what happened to Deuce? He really not a threat anymore. Listen, he's a guy that is a little undersized, and they can close out well on him. Getting separation is key. I don't think we set good screens tonight to free up the guys, That's something that Huck Porty can do well. Precious's screens weren't effective tonight. Cat nothing that Karl-Anthony Towns did tonight was effective at all. He just wasn't moving well. He was bobbling rebounds, so was Hart. They were slipping over. It was kind of like a Benny Hill show for a minute, man. It was a comedy show at times. I mean, Precious getting posterized in the first 2 minutes of the game, that didn't set a good tone, We were half asleep on rotations, right? You should not be getting double-handed posterized on a late closeout, a late contest to Jason Tatum, with all respect, right? If you're a 6'9" athletic Precious Achiuwa, you shouldn't be getting double-handed slammed on like that. They was just half asleep. AP says, I'm sick of these frauds. I'll be back during the playoffs. Look, we're going to make a lot of noise throughout the rest of the regular season. We'll finish with 55+ wins. But it's the playoffs, whether we face Detroit, Indiana, Cleveland, Boston, it's going to be a dogfight, man. Even Milwaukee did kind of improve a little bit as well. It's going to be very interesting, man. Buzzer says T for trash. Low Key says Precious needs to reevaluate his career. That's tough on that one, man. But yeah, Precious was so bad tonight, man. That was one of the worst performances I've ever seen from Precious Achiuwa individually. As we bring out these grades tonight, fam. I mean, specifically, I just want to basically grade the coach. The players basically all fail as well. But Thibs set them up to fail. Look, obviously the captain did fight. He kept us in it, had his moments, and helped us pull within 3 points, right? But I did think Brunson did fight defensively. He'll get a B. Stanley says Nick should have traded Mitch. We'll see how Mitch looks when he gets back, and obviously he could be a big factor. I don't want to see Karl-Anthony Towns at the 5 against this Boston team, right? Thibs should be fired if he starts Karl-Anthony Towns at the 5 in the next game against Boston, because that would be insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, right? You've seen it twice now. Okay, you could say, look, do it once, shame on me. Do it twice, shame on you, And if we do it a third time, then Thibs should be fired, right? Karl-Anthony Towns should not be playing the 5 against this Boston team right now. AP says Leon blew it at the trade deadline, and Thibs should be gone. We've got some guys we can add. Obviously, we got the 15th roster spot, but financially, the Knicks are in a pickle. We said this all season. We need another transaction cycle to free up some more assets. And maybe, yes, Mitch does get traded in the summer. Maybe he, rehabs his value, and maybe he gets it back up. But right now, you're not getting any value for Mitch, guys. I think the best we could have done is maybe hope for a better deal for Jericho, but we didn't really see DeLon Wright tonight. Now, not trading Precious. Precious has been playing well up until tonight, so I kind of understand why they didn't move Precious. But Hart and Bridges were just pathetic tonight. That's our perimeter defense right there, and those guys needed to step up more. Johnny Salute says it took forever to get in rhythm and the minutes to fall out. Buzzer says, CT, do you think having Mitch OG and TJ Warren would have helped us tonight? A healthy Mitch in rhythm, yeah, I think that definitely would have helped. OG definitely would have helped. TJ Warren, maybe not as much, but definitely OG and Mitch, and it probably would have been a lot closer. Buzzer. So yeah, I'm not throwing in the towel this season. I do think a lot rests on the shoulders of OG's health more so than Mitch. Because obviously, if you lock down Tatum tonight, or you make things more difficult, then it's a lot closer ball game. It's definitely a lot closer ball game if you can slow down Tatum. Now let's bring up some quotes from Thibs. Continue to shout you guys out. Knicks take the major L tonight, and let's talk about it. Smash that like button. So much to go throughout this season. We've got Boston 2 more times, but Thibs gets the F tonight. He says you learn from every game, the disappointment of a loss, but make sure we learn from it. Did he learn from the first one? One could say he was somewhat hamstrung with his personnel tonight, but he didn't make the most of what he had. No DeLon Wright, no Huck Porty much. Cat was atrocious tonight. He didn't deserve to stay out there. He was getting out rebounded by a guy that I forgot was even in the league, man. I thought Coronet, Xavier Tillman was their third string big. And then this Quinta, or whatever the guy's name was, apologies, but the fourth string center with Boston, man, was out hustling Cat. I think there'll be a lot of retooling AP in the summer if the Knicks flame out. I think you got to, a smart front office got to be willing to, understand if they made a mistake, and you can still pivot, right? Everyone's going to say, oh, look, we're locked into this and give it time and all of that. Yeah, sure. See how it looks in the postseason. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to get aggressive in the summer, because none of these guys should be untouchable if your name's not Brunson or Cat. If your name's not Brunson or Cat, you could throw Josh Hart in there, obviously. But in terms of OG, Mikal Bridges, right, you're definitely not untouchable. If we can't get it done, or it looks like we're a ways off, then you definitely got to do more while these guys are in their prime. You got to get aggressive. Look at Phoenix as a prime example. They thought pairing together Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal, they honestly thought that was going to be enough, and look how far off they are. So they have to understand that you got to rip the Band-Aid off and blow it up. But Phoenix, that is, I'm saying, not us, but we have to understand that if it's not good enough, you have to make adjustments. CC says you need another scorer. TJ Warren would definitely help. But yeah, I think it fundamentally comes down to size. You need to shift Cat back to the 4, and you need to put Mitch at the 5. And then OG at the 3, Mikal Bridges at the 2. Okay, you're really proper. You're correctly adjusted in terms of size in the NBA, especially against this Boston team. Buzzer says, where was Huck Porty? Well, he played 3 minutes in the first half, and Thibs just didn't go back to him. He probably didn't like what he saw with some rotations, but Puckporty wasn't out there long enough to really hurt us. It was one foul. He got subbed out, fam, and then he just didn't come back in. So that's a question for Thibs. Again, Thibs makes some confounding substitutions. He also says the rebounding was problematic to start. Then why didn't you put Puckporty back in there? Thibs said, I thought sometimes there are some good initial sequences. Then they hurt us with the second shot. 131, 104. That's in the books now. The New York Knicks will face Indiana on Tuesday night, fam. As we continue to react. Low Key says, I can't stand the 3-point defense. They don't try at times. Yeah, that was the most frustrating thing tonight. Like you said. It was almost like we were just, standing there waiting for them to step into the open three. Whether some guys didn't have the energy tonight, but 3 days rest, it's inexcusable, fam. Cat was very questionable before the game time decision, but yeah, he shouldn't have played. And Hart was questionable, and then they threw him out there, but he shouldn't have played either. The eye test tells us that those guys weren't straight tonight. And I know that we were shorthanded. They probably wanted to fight and give it a go. So I do think, to their credit, they're probably, shorthanded against Boston. We knew we were out without OG. Like Chris says here, we definitely needed OG today. See, that's you're 100% right, Chris, but that's my worry for the long term as well. A franchise can't pin all their hopes just to compete again on one guy, with one guy. And OG's an injury-prone guy. His play can be a little inconsistent offensively, but yeah, we absolutely needed him. But where's the next guy to step up? We've got a roster full of guys earning major money, and the next guy can't step up, we're doomed. If you're just going to rely on one guy to help you win 16 games in the postseason, right? And I know OG is our best stopper, but honestly, if you're Leon Rose and you're building a roster, you need more guys to step in. I do like the DeLon Wright pickup from the perspective of his strengths are defensive, on the perimeter, but we don't know if he's going to get much game time, although, after tonight, he might see a lot more time. And like Buzzerbeater says here, they didn't have Drew Holiday or Porzingis either. So, I mean, we can't even make excuses about OG or Mitch. They're literally going to get back, Hall of Famer in Drew Holiday and a champion guy in Porzingis as well. Now, the biggest difference between both ball clubs is we can barely go 6 deep, and they are so deep that they can go like 11 deep. There's so many guys that they have that are playable right now, and our bench just isn't close. AP says, yeah, Leon gambled the franchise's assets on Macau. You need to throw in the towel and not getting past the second round. It depends on matchups. The New York Knicks can definitely beat anyone that's not named Boston. But yeah, if we face Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals, it's going to be a carbon copy of tonight unless we adjust. Now, obviously, Mitch hasn't played against this squad, and I do back a healthy Mitch to outplay Al Horford, Luke Cornett. But yeah, Cat was just soft tonight. He didn't have it going. Precious was too small, man. I mean, these are one of those nights where I'm okay with them doing the too small on Precious. I mean, like I said, how do you get dunked on in the first 2 minutes of the game like that, right? You call yourself an elite defensive player, and you're getting dunked on double-handed by, Jason Tatum. Man, it's absolutely embarrassing. These guys slipping over themselves like they're wearing ice skates as well. How many times did they have us on skates tonight? It's like our guys were, a team that forgot how to play, like the Monstars stole their powers. Yeah, the Heat could turn to Leon Rose, but right now it's more so on Thibs. because we can do better even with limited personnel. I feel like we could, do a lot better, guys, with the guys we have, There's Dardier out there. There's Huck Porty he's still not using. He's continuing to throw Precious and Cat out there, you know. Those guys continue to play soft, down low, against a team with extra size, Twin Towers, man. If it was Cleveland tonight and they're bigs, they probably would have punished us as well. Dardier's got real length. He doesn't play. Tyler Collette can play in the pick and roll. He doesn't get a chance. We'll see if DeLon Wright gets a chance. But yeah, Leon has to, hit on the final signing, man. Whether it's TJ Warren or the next guy, as we talk about TJ Warren's 47 points the other night, right? He could solve some offense, but there's a lot of other things we've got to do, fam. We've got to correct this drop coverage. AP says instead of playing in the All-Star game, they need to work in the gym and study themselves. Yeah, I like that, 100%. Chris says OG could have guarded Tatum. Tatum was cooking Bridges. That's true. Troy, salute to you. This team is not good. Looks like it will be a Celtics-Lakers championship series. Long way to go, my friend, in this one. The Knicks have to eat humble pie and be willing to change things up, not get too stubborn, make an adjustment. Almighty wasn't a fan of Huck Porty helping us, says Huck Porty wasn't going to help anyways. Maybe, maybe not, but I think physically, bit more of an intimidating presence down there, helping us on the glass, rebounding. We got smashed. But my question is, why play him 3 minutes and then not go back to him again? I mean, the other guys were worse. Some of those nights where Thibs pulls a rookie and you're like, okay, yeah, that's fair, The rookie didn't have it going. But I didn't see anything that Huck Porty did that really hurt the team. He just didn't get back in. Whether it was maybe a matchup issue, maybe Thibs the offense was stalling and he didn't want another guy out there that couldn't space the floor. So, it'll be interesting to see. George K says, I can't stand his post games. You hear the same sort of mundane stuff. Wendell agrees, play the rookie center because Cat gives you nothing. Buzzer says we gave up 15-foot shots for contested 13-foot shots. Yeah, you guys know how much I talk about the 3-point ball opening up Brunson's game and the floor spacing. Brunson was a little too, he was a little too timid, pulling up from 3. Yep, we've got some more Thibs frustration. I'm with you on that. You got to learn from your mistakes. Almighty says, I'm scared another team will pick up TJ Warren. Look, at this point, man, all the credit in the world to him, If we're too slow and another team picks him up, then, yeah, it'll teach Leon Rose a lesson. Financially, I know the Knicks are hamstrung. They can't sign him right now. So I know a lot of people want to blame Leon. But, he had the chance to free up some money at the trade deadline, He decided not to trade Mitch. Ultimately, it could be the right decision. Mitch can come back and really help us. But right now, one of the reasons we're strapped financially and we can't sign TJ Warren is because we failed to move Mitch's salary and free up more money, or Precious. We were so skint with money in the summer, we had to sign Pacome Dardier to an 80% rookie contract. This was the most frustrating thing, Buzzer. We made solid to decent players look like all-stars. We made Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, just like opening night. I mean, Luke Cornett, one of the best games I've seen him play. He absolutely schooled our defense. He's cutting at the right time. He got into a little bit of foul trouble, but I mean, it was embarrassing. G Money says the Celtics were getting butt naked open looks. Deja vu. like you said, that's why I give Thibs an F tonight. Lack of adjustments. Like, how many times can you guys say that we've brought a double team, to a guy on the perimeter that's hot? We just continue to step back and let him shoot an open three. It's like have at it. You know, I tweeted out, guys, that a delusional part of me is thinking that the Knicks might have been stealth tanking these games against Boston, because that's what it looked like. We were literally just trying to give them open threes. Uh, Now, Mikal Bridges was hitting some good shots, kept us in it a little bit as well, but defensively, man, he got cooked. Now, for Precious Achua, right, he's going to get an F for me. Absolutely pathetic effort, soft, needs to be a lot better. Karl Anthony Towns shouldn't have played. Right, I know these guys want to fight through barriers and all of that. It's becoming a joke at this point, man. These guys trying to play for Thibs, just so that they could look tough or whatever. But you're really hurting the team, just like OG. How ridiculous was it? OG tried to play Game 7 last postseason when his hamstring was literally hanging. The guy was like trying to play limping, holding his hamstring. I mean, that was a complete embarrassment. These guys really need to make an adjustment with their medical situations, right? I mean, Josh Hart, absolutely pathetic performance, right? We've got to praise him when he's great, but when he's poor, we have to say so, and he shouldn't have played tonight either. He was questionable, and he's been questionable for about like 5 games running. It's like, just have a rest, just sit the F down and let a rookie get a chance. Let, bring up the next guy, right? You're just hurting the team, trying to play hurt. Again, the coach should be the one pulling the strings, saying, no, you're not playing tonight, but Thibs just allows this. So let's bring up the box score. Buzzer asked how many assists did we have as a team. We had 16 assists, man. That's got to be one of the lowest on the season. Absolutely terrible. 16 dimes, 9 turnovers, only 1 block to 7 blocks. I mean, that tells you right there, fam. Right, that's just energy. That's just hustle. That's just will. And that's what you get with no Huck Porty and Cat and Precious Achua job coverage, man. I mentioned, for those that are just joining us, salute to you. Smash that like button. It's styles make fights, and it's contrasting styles. A team that loves to give up open threes versus the team that's 3-point happy and elite at it. And you combine the two together and you get a train wreck. There's no other way to describe this game and the opening night game other than a train wreck, right? You don't want to look, but you kind of can't look away. It's like a car wreck, a train wreck. And, I'm not surprised. Now, I'm not going to say I seen it coming, but I'm really not surprised after opening night, These guys just played so timid tonight. Almighty says, I want to see us running 2 bigs in the starting lineup, Cat and Mitch. Yeah, that seems to be on the cards, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, let's see how that looks. I think that could be the recipe for success against Cleveland, and it could be a recipe for a better chance against Boston. Johnny says, Knicks need another year to gel, like the Celts are on both ends. I just think they're a lot deeper than us, Johnny, and Thibs isn't going to trust other guys off our bench. Yeah, a little bit of a combination of our guys just weren't at full health tonight either. No OG, a banged up Hart, and a banged up Cat. G Money says Mitch can't guard stretch bigs. We can dominate on the other end though. Look at these rebounds, G Money, 53 to 42. It would have helped us, I think, a lot more on the second chance points. Um, Emmett says, can we afford KD next off season? Yes, we can. We can move. It'd probably be, Mitch and OG salary. I think those two would be enough to get you KD in terms of salary match. And then the Knicks would probably have to include more assets, possibly. But yeah, it is possible. But I don't know if KD would want to come here. I know he's probably looking at other destinations as well. Shez V salute, what's good? Andrew Wiggins would have been a good pickup. Man, DeAndre Hunter, that pickup from Cleveland. Like, I would have really tried to get in on that, guys. The DeAndre Hunter move to Cleveland, that was an upgrade, if I've ever seen one, over Karis LeVert. And what did we do as an upgrade, We're hoping that Mitch gets back, Now, we heard some reporting from the one and only Shams Charania did confirm on ESPN that OG won't be back until after the All-Star break, from what he's hearing. And he also says that Mitch will most likely be targeting the March 1st return. So looks like Mitch won't be back this month either. They continue to push back the return date just to be safe. It's just, yeah, we're just in that situation. Like, I think, like the chat saying tonight, for our depth, I think we really need another off season, guys. I'm not going to lie. I think we need 2 to 3 more solid bench players with size that can hit a shot, can create a little bit. I mean, look what Brunson was doing tonight, guys. As I take a look at Brunson's numbers, I mean, he was basically heroic, keeping us in at 36 points. I didn't even, it was a quiet 26 points in terms of, 13 free throws, 3 of 7 from distance, 10 of 18, 36 minutes. But look at Deuce McBride, 1 of 8. A lot of his shots were a little bit off balance, but you got to tip your cap to Boston because they were contesting hard. They're a lot more disciplined defensively. Even just the basics. You see Jason Tatum out there on the perimeter. He's got his arms up. Fundamentals, trying to get, into the passing lane, eat up space. What are our guys doing? They were literally just standing there like mannequins, letting guys shoot threes. It's just so frustrating watching the Cat Precious drop coverage right now. And, again, my patience is thin with this coach, right? I already felt like Thibodeau isn't the coach to get us to the highest level and get us over the top. He's a floor raiser, absolutely, and has lifted this franchise from where it was and helped us be more competitive, getting us the 4th seed, the 3rd seed, 2nd seed, and whatever seed this season. But I mean, just exposed against the best, and he doesn't exactly have a great playoff record either. We got blown out against Atlanta when he kept playing Elfrid Payton. And then the other 2 seasons we succumbed to injuries against Miami and against Indiana. Yeah, I agree with you on this one, G Money. Dardier, nothing to lose. He's bigger than Bridges. He's bigger than Shamet, Deuce, and Payne. Give him a chance. Tonight he was in street clothes. That's why I don't get. I think he might be rehabbing from an injury. If that's the only conclusion I've got, because he didn't play with the G League yesterday. He didn't play with the G League tonight, and he wasn't even in his uniform tonight. Big Mike salute. We can't win with this defense. Mitch and OG are a must-have. I really think Ben Simmons would have been a great pickup for us. Yeah, I think. Obviously, if you don't know, salary-wise, we weren't able to sign Ben Simmons because of his prior salary and the CBA restrictions. But, yeah, that kind of player would have been really handy for us. And, yeah, I think maybe in the off-season, I think the silver lining I'm holding on to right now is that we are a top-heavy roster this season. And, yes, we have some really high-end talent now, and we are the 3rd seed. But we need more depth, and this offseason is going to be key. This is a multi-year project in terms of, being able to knock off a Boston or an Oklahoma. I feel we're learning a lot about the coach, about these guys. As I bring up the grades now, what are your thoughts on Deuce McBride's performance? I'm going to give Deuce McBride tonight a C. Cameron Payne was actually a bright spark in this one. He kept battling, and he gave us some good buckets early to keep us in it. He'll get a B for this one. Who else played minutes? Obviously Huck Pority. Landry Shamet played garbage time though. Huck Pority played 8 minutes. Still gave us 4 rebounds, 2 offensive. Did Huck Pority. But yeah, Thibs should have played him more, I feel. But yeah, I think there's a lot we can do in the off-season, guys. CC says Horford and Coronet would have gotten killed against Huck and Cat. Let Achua and Hart come off the bench. Yeah, we needed more size tonight, I think. But just the not able to navigate and ice the screens, I mean, if you don't know what Boston's game plan is, you haven't been paying attention, because it's so predictable. They're so good at it, but it is so predictable, and we're just catering to what they do well, Like Tatum, he does that razzmatazz, razzle dazzle. It's obvious that he's not going to drive on you because he wants that step back 3. And what do? We just allow him to get that 3 off. Guys aren't bringing the double. At least throw zone out there for a second. But Thibs just won't do anything. He just won't adjust. It's 2 games we've been smoked. Big Mike says Cat at the 4 is going to put him back into sync with the offense. Let's hope, because right now they did a really good job of eating that space, and they're basically neutralizing Cat in the pick and roll. Him and Brunson couldn't even operate in space. And I think that's the blueprint. We saw some of these other coaches have success to take away some of that space, the driving lanes that from Cat, making him post up. Salute to Susan in the building. Great to see you. I'm just, I haven't experienced this level of emotion in a game for a long time, guys. Like, this is a game that I really wanted to see the New York Knicks show some more grit. And it's been a long time coming, we're like 50 games into the season, and I was just so angry and frustrated, in disbelief with what we saw tonight, Obviously, when we made that comeback, I thought, okay, here we go. Our boys are showing their fight. But then Thibodeau refused to challenge that call, and we just let go of the rope after that, Tatum got hot, and that was all she wrote. Susan says, I'm just tired of Mikal Bridges being suspect and not fulfilling his obligations. I think it's a lot to pin on Bridges, but yeah, defensively, the schemes, I think, are setting these guys up to fail. But yeah, Bridges has to fight through every screen harder and step around the screen as well. I mean, Luke Coronet was setting some giant screens tonight with his legs split apart. So that's hard to overcome. I think styles make fights. As Big Mike says, the roster has championship potential. I think up against Boston, I think that's our kryptonite. Right now, that's our kryptonite. We have to find a way to overcome that. Like Buzzer says, we made the same mistakes we made in the season opener against the same team, right? And you know what's made me more frustrated? Boston lost their previous game, and obviously, their sights were probably set on this one. So I do think we're kind of in Boston's head a little bit in terms of Boston. They do bring their A game against us because they know that, there's all that narrative. The Knicks are trying to, they're built to face the Celtics. They're built to take them down and all that noise. It's obviously annoyed Boston, and they've made it their goal, their mission to to absolutely destroy us. And last game, um, Boston lost to the Mavericks. Yeah, with no Anthony Davis, they lose to the Mavericks 120-127. Then they get a day off yesterday. They probably get a grilling from Joe Mazzulla, and then they come out tonight and absolutely turn it on. Right. If you're James Dolan, like I said earlier at the top of the show, sitting courtside, I mean, you have to be visibly, frustrated and at boiling point, I think, if you're James Dolan, because you don't want to hear "Let's go Celtics" chants at MSG, right? And the second game, it's not even competitive, down 20, 30 points. I mean, this Knicks squad has a high payroll, we're only 500K away from the second apron, which is embarrassing because we should be, more competitive against this Boston side. But, this is the squad that Thibs has from Leon, and he's not coaching to its maximum potential right now. Obviously, there is limitations, but, play the guys that are hungry, go to the next option, right? It's just, tonight was just, it was disheartening. Susan says, Mikal wasn't acquired just for his defense, for his offense, the 3-point shot. He has to do everything, he has to be better. Shez V says, OG took a big part of that Knicks salary. Yes, you said it. I think that was a misstep from the front office in a way where, yes, they pulled off the big trade for OG, but I think when they pulled off the big trade for Mikal Bridges, OG went back to his agent. The talk is that OG wanted, a bigger salary. He wanted guarantees that he's that guy. And so we had to pay him $42 million, which is more than expected, If we only had to pay OG 33, 35, 38 million, we probably have a little bit more wiggle room, to sign the 14th, 15th guy earlier. So yeah, AP says I'm giving the Knicks too much credit. Well, you're as good as your record says, and I'll maintain that. Yes, this is a bad matchup specifically, but it doesn't mean the Knicks are a bad team. I mean, you can't be, 34-18 in this competitive NBA. You can't be 16 games above 500 and say it's a bad team, right? We are really good at certain things. We're just really bad against certain matchups, right? And look at how many teams are underachieving, fam. The Knicks are higher than the Pacers, the Bucks. They had championship goals. Look at the Miami Heat. They're about to blow it up. Magic are in 8th. The Hawks are in 9th. Philadelphia have 3 All-Stars. They're in 11th. So you got to give the Knicks some credit at the end of the day. I just think our coach, Tom Thibodeau, has clear limitations. He hasn't been able to get a team over that hump. It's a fact. He couldn't get the Bulls to that next step. He couldn't get Minnesota over that next step right now. If you bring in a really smart coach, I think, he'd modernize our offense more. He'd modernize our defense. Got to coach these guys up more. I know Thibs is 60 now, but he needs to cut the favoritism and just chew these guys out, right? If I was him, I would have emptied that bench earlier. I would have said, look, you guys just don't have it tonight. Have a seat, right? Just have a seat. If we're going to get embarrassed, at least play the rookies, you know, for a huge high payroll team to get embarrassed without playing any rookies it makes these veterans look even worse, in my opinion. But like I said, you can just run into a really, really bad matchup at times. And, when Boston are firing and we're just willing to give them the threes, this is what's going to happen. So yeah, I don't want to stew on this one too much, guys. We're all frustrated. Let's hope we can get TJ Warren in the building. Mitch, we'll see if DeLon Wright can get some minutes, because right now, with nothing to lose, in my opinion, I would play DeLon Wright a little bit on the perimeter, see what he's got. Landry Shamet, hit a couple of shots in garbage time tonight, but we need some tighter defense on the perimeter, and obviously drop coverage. Cat can benefit from the break, hopefully. Thibs messes with the young players. Huck Porty plays 3 minutes and then he yanks him. It's no surprise that Obi Toppin, blew his top and got into words with Thibs, because, these players get frustrated at times. You just traded away Jericho Sims. Huck Porty's probably thinking, yeah, I'm finally going to get my chance. He plays a few possessions and then takes him out. So it's a real concern right now, and we'll see, guys. I honestly do feel like this should be Tibbs's last season. If we don't get past the second round, it's not just because of Tibbs. It's just because I think it's ran its course. Given his age and given the future ahead with this younger roster, I do feel like it probably needs a new voice in the summer if we do flame out. Now, if Tibbs gets us to the third round, Eastern Conference Finals, then he's probably coming back. You can make a case that he deserves to continue. But if we can't get past the second round again for the third season running, to me that's cause to bring in a new voice, new ideas, new assistant coaches. But obviously there's a long way to go. We'll see how everything plays out, guys. But let's wrap this thing up. Tonight, frustration abound. Knicks 16 games above 500. We've got 2 more to play, and then the All-Star break. We've got a back-to-back, Pacers, and then the Hawks. So let's get it on Tuesday night. As the dust will settle on this one, we'll hear more of the wash-up. Yeah, these guys have to take ownership for such a pathetic performance. This could have been another statement event on national TV, but they did not show up tonight. Salute to everyone. Great to see you. Big up to the chat, Nick Streets, and let's talk about it on Tuesday night, as the New York Knicks have to get right against the Pacers. They are 14-3 when coming off a loss. Right. So if I'm a betting man, I'm definitely putting money that the New York Knicks will beat the Indiana Pacers, because they're 14-3 this season coming off of a loss. So the bounce back game has been strong. And I think that these guys will obviously be frustrated in the locker room, and they need to come out and get another dub, right, heading into All-Star break. Let's hope that they do. But yeah, peace, everyone.